Let's find out what's in the feed. What's in the feed this week? Let's find out what's in the feed. Welcome, everybody, to What's in the Feed this week. Let's start off by breaking news. This is 26. Last night at the Correspondents Dinner, there was an attempted shooting. Now, we don't have all of the detailed information on this yet. We know the president is safe. Secret Service did their job admirably. Now, apparently the event seems to, by all reports, have had light security. This is a hotel, and so it is a public space. But the president, for many, many months, has been touting the building of the ballroom at the White House, which has been pressed back on by the left as some sort of a vanity project. This is a prime example of why this kind of thing should never happen. This is, I believe, the fourth attempt on the president's life, and God has protected him. I don't want to get above myself and say that this man is untouchable and he's bulletproof, because I don't think that that's true. We have to be concerned anytime something like this happens, because just as close as it was in Butler, it could be that close or even worse. This is something we really need to start addressing. This is becoming a problem. I thought about this last night, and I wanted to give exactly the way that I felt about it. Now, I, as a lot of you felt through the 4 years of the Biden administration, that we as people on the right, Republicans, conservatives, whatever title you want to give to it, were demonized as the violent ones. It's this projection thing that communists do, where they blame you for the things that they do. And I know that you guys all know this. You felt the same way that I felt. And it was like taking crazy pills every day, because we know that we're nonviolent. There was never any proof. Just because they said it did not make it true. And everything that the left does is an immediate proof that they are the ones who are the violence. And this goes all the way back to the BLM riots. BLM happens, they have the Summer of Love, and for almost a year, they terrorize all the major cities, burn stuff down, destroy stuff, take over government facilities. None of those people saw any jail time. But the second that we had a peaceful protest in the Capitol on January 6th, they put every single person that was even remotely in the area in jail. This is a double standard which this needs to be handled and taken care of. And I just don't know if that's ever going to be a truth for us, if that's ever going to be something that we're going to see justice on. This two-tiered justice system has become ingrained in the way things are done. We have power, and right now, we are not calling out, or we are not prosecuting, or we are not doing anything other than strongly worded letters. I don't understand why. I know this is why there's a lot of people on the right side that are disillusioned. But this thing with the president last night brings up a lot of questions. We're only day one in here. But frankly, we never found out what was going on with the whole Butler thing and what was really behind that. And I don't know if this will go down as another one of those magic bullet moments where we never find out about, the attempted assassination, just like we still don't really know the truth behind the Kennedy assassination. But apparently in this case, we have a manifesto from a shooter, one Cole Allen, a school teacher from California who apparently is a registered Democrat, who was part of a leftist group, whom attended very publicly No Kings rallies. Now, I knew last night when all of this was going on that the immediate reaction from the left was going to be to figure out how they were going to spin it. As I have pointed out many, many times in the past, the left, they are the masters of the spin. And they've gotten so good at it that even though they can bull-face lie with the proof being played literally on video in front of their face and still be in denial about it, it's masterful. And in a bad way. I mean, I always look at it like this. This is how I always know that I'm guiding myself right in life as an individual. And that's that I know that the devil is a liar. So anytime that there is a lie, you know that all you need to be right is to be on the side of truth. But it's going to be hard for them to spin this one because there was so much information that was out there immediately. I want to give shots out to a lot of the ex-providers out there. And I don't have to say any particular names, but I just know that in real time, not only was I, but there were many other reputable sources that were releasing minute by minute, play by play information. The way that I've looked at it is this much. And that's why I've placed myself in a commitment to continue to do these shows. We have lost major sources on our side that weren't mainstream media. But remember when the COVID thing happened, we had a lot of people that separated themselves from the mainstream media. Most people now are getting their information from Twitter, from X. And that counts on the left side too. I don't know how much goes on the left side. They are not in my algorithm. I think that a lot of the ones who really had true Trump derangement syndrome flew over to blue sky. But the kind of audiences that the left gets versus content providers on the right is quite significantly less. And that's because most of middle America, most of America, the real Americans, tend to lean to the right. Even if they're not MAGA, even if they're not America First, and even if they don't claim to be registered Republicans, the information is just more reliable on the right side. And it's more noticeable now than it ever has been. And I think that there's a lot of people that learned during the whole COVID thing that the left had a motivation to lie, to cover up, and for reasons unbeknownst to us, to manipulate the truth. You know, it's the easiest way to say it, you know, without throwing any direct allegations out there. But that being said, I found that individually for myself, that because I felt that I was being deceived, and I felt like there were sources that there was a dwindling source of true information, turned like the rest of you did to a lot of different sources. Crazy enough as it is, we had an Alex Jones. Alex, when you take away all of the wackiness and the conspiracy theories, if you were smart enough, you could filter through the information that he and his team provided. And it wasn't just him, it was Owen Schroyer and Harrison Smith. So not everyone at InfoWars has a reputation for being a crazy, wacky conspiracy theorist. However, we have lost Alex Jones as a source of information. We're still trying to determine exactly why someone who was so staunchly in support of President Trump to the point where he was pivotal, I believe, in garnering a lot of votes for the right side, to all of a sudden have jumped the fence. It really doesn't make any sense because Alex's whole revenue comes from his listeners, and his listeners are mainly MAGA, or mainly America First, or the hardest of the hardcore. But we've lost sources like that. We see what has happened with Candace Owens. This is a recent thing. Candace, I'll leave that alone because we've all discovered that it happens so very quickly when a grift, when the guy playing 3-card Monte gets caught, you immediately know that you've been cheated. And the cheater doesn't have an excuse. You just caught red-handed cheating. So we've all found out that, that source of information, Candace, is just a grifter who will glom onto any story that she can to get views. So she's been deducted. Now, one of the biggest losses for sources of news that I thought we as conservatives could count on, Tucker Carlson, has gone the way of the dodo too. And that one was the biggest mystery to me because he would have been the closest thing to a source of, an alternative to the mainstream media. He's interviewing Vladimir Putin. He's interviewing Viktor Orban. So heads of state, and doing what has always been considered the job of a journalist. However, for whatever reason, Tucker jumped ship as well. So I think that now the call goes out to all of those who do have a large platform and do have a gift for communicating, to have the honor, the dignity, and the fortitude to tell the truth, to be able to communicate that to their audiences and become the source of information. There's been a prediction, and I think a pretty smart one, by someone that I still listen to, Tim Pool, who has been in this, has been large enough and been connected to mainstream media to know that he said that eventually that'll be phased out and most of the information will be coming from shows like this, and that people will stop going and counting on some of the mainstream sources of information that they did in the past, and it will die out. It won't be a matter of where to choose to go anymore. It'll be a matter of you have your go-to sources, and your go-to sources have become more and more prevalent here on X. So, even though that last night was a very, I would say, pseudo sad night, it really wasn't that sad. I think we're more angry, and I think we're more outraged that this thing continues to happen, and we continue to have violence on the left, and we don't get a denouncement from the left or any sort of admittance to the fact that it is them that are the ones that are committing most of these violent acts. When they spend all day, every day trying to convince us that it is those on the right that are the violent ones. We need to stop being gaslit. So the information that we have so far is the individual's Cole Allen. He had a manifesto, school teacher, California, educated at Caltech, I believe, was an engineering major. So not some crazy, wacky, a trans shooter. However, even initially I reported one of the great sources of information on X that I look at in real time. We were all reporting minute by minute by minute. Someone blew into the picture, and I'll be damned if it didn't look like there was a pink scrunchie on this individual. Now, from a closer inspection, I don't know if they removed that. I didn't see how long the hair was in the back. But you can see if you go through the feed that it really does appear, if you zoom in here, that this individual, Cole Allen, had on a pink scrunchie. Could have just been something in the background and our eyes play tricks on us, and that wasn't what the case is, and that they didn't eventually just remove it out of his hair, because that's kind of what they do when you're in custody. They remove anything that's elastic or anything that could be used to hurt yourself or hurt others, all the way down to shoelaces. And we all know about having to take your belts off and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised that if in the initial moments after they had tackled this guy, put him down, that he did have a pink scrunchie. So we cannot connect it. And when I posted it up, which was a repost from a blow up of a picture that I had posted, that I put in parentheses there that this was unconfirmed and still unconfirmed. And I know that even if that is the case, that the left is definitely going to try to spin it. So that is the breaking news part of the show. And so with that connection, we're going to do some videos this week and show you what's in the feed. So this is going to be a normal show. I do want to say that before I start playing these videos, when these videos are going to be connected to some of the rage, or not some of the rage, but some of the discomfort I have with having to listen to the left's spin on things. This week, we're going to have a special episode, an episode with the angry Long Island veteran. So another victim of the has-been piece of human excrement known as Bill Jubrand. And that should be very interesting. This is another one of our conservative fellows out there that Bill decided to target. So apparently Bill has moved on to not just attacking women, since he was called out on that he would attack a man, but he won't attack me. He will not address me in particular. And I happen to be the one black content provider or show host that has called him out on his BS accusations. The left loves to throw out that racist accusation. So I'm giving the angry Long Island veteran a platform here. He did a great counterpoint to Bill's new video in which he used my pseudo ultimatum. And as a point of etiquette, he let me know that I should take a look at this. Unconnected. He was not on my feed. Somehow the video had gone viral as it pertains to the Bill thing. So I know Bill's seen it, but Bill won't address me because I'm black. And I destroy all the narratives that he has about every conservative in a particular circle being racist. So that ought to be an interesting episode. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We'll probably be dropping that one on Tuesday. Now I want to play this video, and Brittany Hughes is a established show host herself. I don't know what network she's connected to, but this video caught my eye, and it was very interesting. So I'm going to play this one for you guys real quick, and we'll comment on that when it gets done.
So we've now had what? 3 assassination attempts against Donald Trump? 4? I don't know, it's getting hard to keep count. But now Democrats are coming out in droves to claim that the whole entire thing at the White House Correspondents Dinner was staged and was a hoax to make Trump look good because people keep trying to kill him. Just a false flag, nothing to see here. So you're telling me that of all the people that the Trump administration could have gotten to try to pull this thing off, they didn't go with a crazy homeless person. They didn't go with some mentally ill nutbag. They went with a 31-year-old Black man and a teacher from California with a family to come all the way to Washington, D.C. to stage a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's what you're going with. And somehow that sounds more plausible to you than the fact that leftists have actually been brainwashed into believing that Donald Trump is a fascist dictator and a Nazi who is a threat to our democracy, who's going to take down the country, and someone needs to take him out before he does. What makes a lot more sense is that you have spent years telling people that Donald Trump is a threat to this country and that we would be better off with him dead. And now people are actually trying to pull that off. The truth is that this shows us once again that conservatives are not the violent ones. Leftists are. We have seen that over and over and over. This exposes one more time exactly who leftists are. And y'all don't like that.
She's got a point. See, I think that we have a lot of us, and this is not a original thought, but it's coming to the point where now there's not a fact that the left can deny this. There's no longer a lane, let me put it that way, for the left to deny that this is happening, because it's happening, and it's happening so frequently that now the spin no longer gets traction. And they're going to eventually have to take responsibility for being the ones who incite this kind of crazy action. Never in my day did I think that I would see people giving up their lives. Now, from all intents and purposes, this individual, Cole Allen, had a fairly normal life. And what you consider normal, whatever. He was an educated guy who apparently has family. I don't know if he's married. I heard something about kids, and I'm going to apologize. I did limited fact checking on this, which I normally do limited fact checking. I do have the information, and I will have sources. But in a case like this, where it is just on the fly, and there's going to be a lot of, mud thrown in between the clear facts, that, you got to go by what you hear. And so this individual, I would consider, was radicalized. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. And it's something that I think that we will look back in history and determine as a mental illness. I described it as a cloud of darkness, almost, sort of. And I will bring it, and I will show you another example here in a video popping up. But there were many comments that I saw where we on the right are trying to reconcile what is in the minds of these people, why death and dismemberment and hurting people is okay with them now. And I commented back on a post, which I can just reiterate to you, where someone was outraged and asked that question. And I literally had to say, that these are people who have been taken by the spirit of darkness. They've allowed in their hearts a place where they can justify killing people, where death is okay, where murdering someone is okay. And I'm convinced that, a lot of these people were at some point good people before they caught Trump derangement syndrome. I've also described Trump derangement syndrome as a mental version of HIV. I mean, it's like the mental AIDS. I mean, it starts off innocuously enough where it's not detectable and but gets worse, but gets worse and worse as it goes until it comes to a point of an untreatable terminal thing. Now, we know, and I mean, I use that loosely, and I know that's an extreme example, and an extreme, connection there to try to connect TDS, which is, to some fictional, to something as serious as HIV and AIDS, and that's not to be played with. But it's my best way of mentally of trying to verbally describe how it looks. And it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it continues to get worse to the point where we have individuals who feel that it is okay to for someone to be murdered. Now, that said, I will play this video, and I don't know if there's any audio on this. I actually didn't play the video. I saw the response. This one comes from Claire. Kathy Griffin said it was a gnarly fall, and I don't think it will be long now. This was a gnarly fall. I don't think it'll be long now. She's speaking about Trump being rushed out at the White House Correspondents Dinner due to that active maniac shooter. Let me see. Is there any audio on this? Well, there is not. That's just a picture. But I did make a comment on it. My comment on this was very simple. I mean, as I said, this spirit of darkness, this TDS, is always going to be confusing to someone who doesn't feel the way that they feel. Before a woman that got turbo lung cancer as a non-smoker at that. I know a lot of people don't really know that why Kathy Griffin disappeared for a few years. Now, we know she is the poster child for TDS because she was one of the first ones with the bloody head of Trump and all that. And that's caused an outrage when there were still a few people on the left that would be outraged about those kind of things. But she was dealing with lung cancer. Now, this was back in 2021. Okay. So when I connect these things, it is all hyperbole. This is going to be on YouTube. So I'm going to say that this is personal opinion and speculation so that I don't get a ding for this because I don't know how the COVID thing goes over there. As I had mentioned on the web or mentioned on my feed that a lot more people go to YouTube, and I was hampering myself by trying to keep all of the video content on Rumble. So because YouTube is a much more popular and it's still the go-to platform for video, I am posting it both equally on both. But once I did set up the page, and it was already set up, I just wasn't posting videos as regularly there as on Rumble. There were a lot more views, so I can't do that to the visibility of the show. So that being said, 2021, she mysteriously got lung cancer, a very serious, advanced version of lung cancer. After several boosters, and she barely survived. She had to have stuff cut out, and she was in a bad place. So when that kind of thing happens, and we've seen it happen in our family and to you, some of you have been through these life-threatening or these life-changing situations. Usually that changes you fundamentally. You see life in a more precious way. It's more precious. It's more valuable. Time is more important. Life is more important. Even forgiving some of those whom you have problems with and beefs with tend to happen. But she flippantly wishing death really is the ultimate affront, considering that it was God's will that she's still alive right now. And I know that that's the main problem with a lot of these people is they do not have God in their normal, regimen. It is not something that colors the way that they navigate in life. So hence, it never comes to mind of what would Jesus do or how would this be, and this is not morally correct, and I shouldn't be feeling this way, and I should be lucky, and I should not look a gift horse in the mouth, and I should not throw stones. Wishing death upon somebody after you narrowly avoided death sort of is almost a spit in the face, sacrilege. I don't know what word you would want to call it to a connection of religiously, but I feel like these people have no souls, or they've been like, there's a verse where there's a description about being separated from God, like being cast into the furthest, darkest, deepest abyss. And I think some of these people are there already. And that's sad because we want to save them. But when you're cast into the deepest, darkest abyss, there's no way to pull you back up. I mean, I think it's essentially a permanent thing. But for Kathy Griffin to have that kind of response, the left just, it shocks me. It shocks me to no end how classless these people are and what they will do. Speaking of classness, and this will be the last thing connected to the president's the Correspondents Dinner last night, where we have yet to know who the target is, but thank you, Jesus, that Trump and all of the administration are all safe. But here's the kind of thing that we see here. Let me play this video. I think there's some video.
Tragically, we've covered shootings. We've covered
So
all sorts
I don't think
of
the audio really matters as much.
terrible events, but it's not often where you have
You
a
can
loved one next to
see
you in that
clearly
space.
these are probably CNN
We've covered
reporters or
shootings, we've
MSNBC
covered all
reporters
sorts of
just
scary and terrible events.
stealing the
But it's
booze.
not often where you
I mean,
have a loved one next to you.
this is what I
in that
mean
space.
about morals.
Tragically, we've covered shootings. We've covered
Who does
all
this?
sorts of scary
So
and
here
terrible
she's straight
events.
out the bottom,
But
this
it's not
one here.
often where you have a loved one next to you.
And they play it over and over again. This is how disrespectful these people are. And I get it. I mean, I could look at this in a different way, color, and say the one over here who's drinking straight out the bottle was probably just stressed out. I mean, there was a shooting. We saw Erica Kirk's reaction to it. And the poor lady has been through so much. And I saw a couple of comments about her being a Grammy Award winning actress. And I'm like, you guys have never been in a shootout. You've never been anywhere where gunfire happened, where you had to see somebody bleeding out. And I will tell you that I have been. And I can tell you that there are soldiers and there are people that grew up in neighborhoods and saw some things that the normal, average, everyday person doesn't. But you will be shook. And so I can see the other lady here with the mink coat just shoving bottles. And that's just straight up classless. Jacking the booze. No good. The other one, I don't know. I'm on the fence. She does look a little stressed out. However, I don't know enough about where she is and what her situation is to throw any bards at her. But I know that it was probably stressful for some of the people in there to be involved in a situation that is not a everyday thing, where their lives were genuinely in danger. But this is what we get because there was a lot of left-wing reporting organizations in there, and everybody's supposed to get along. But I think we've gone far, far away from where we had a cordial relationship with these people. These people have lost their shit. They do not want to see the president succeed. They do not want to give a positive story. They do not want to give him any fair airtime. But that's the classlessness of what happened last night. Oh, here's another one. Now I find it irony. I started to find an irony with the fact that a lot of the people on the left who tend to scream racism, 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 and this is just was a connection loosely to the Bill Jubrin thing, where he claimed he had privilege over another person because of his skin color. And when he said that, he didn't realize that what was coming out of his mouth was racist. I don't think these leftists want to admit to that. I know they know it, but sometimes I don't know if they know that they're telling on themselves. This popped up, and when I saw the picture yesterday, just loosely, I thought, oh, isn't that nice? But I knew that there were going to be people that were going to stretch. So I apologize. This one is connected to what happened last night, but let's take a look at it real quick. I want to play this video and see what you think.
But it's not a joke, right? It's not. We are not in some form of literally articulated type like puppet mastering situation. I'm a married man, okay? I've been married for almost 5 years. If I lost my wife to something like that, it's a fucking joke.
Something like that. Hold on, let me play that again.
If I lost my wife to something like that.
What is that? Something like that? What's he pointing at? And this is a leftist, okay?
It's a fucking joke, people. And it's time for you to wake up and realize what is actually taking place. Because as long as they continue to do this and they have the empathy and the support, they're going to continue to do it. And here, I'm going to leave you one last thing before I go, because this one is wildly frustrating, okay? They let you vote. Think about that.
I'll let you decide on that. It's another one of these things where sometimes I wonder, do you listen to what is coming out of your mouth? And then my second question is, why do these people record themselves doing and saying this kind of stuff. It makes no sense. All right, let's get to some other subjects and some stories. There was a couple of things that I was going to pop in here on the normal feed. You guys know last week was the big beef between Candace and Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer bodied Candace Owens like prime Mike Tyson. Just relentless first round knockout. Bing, boom, bam, bing, boom. Body shots, uppercuts, hooks, blows, and down goes Candace. We ain't heard nothing from her since. She left the country. I don't know. Maybe she'll have a show on Monday. I couldn't tell you. Somebody else is going to have to tell me because I wasn't a regular listener. And even though I was fascinated with the Macron thing, with the wife having a dick, I mean, I thought that was mildly entertaining. After that, I was just like, yeah, you're the crazy of the crazy. You're even more crackpot than Alex Jones now. So, that being said, though, Candace, has some very, very, very crazy followers. And I can tell you that personally, I've never gotten the amount of mentally ill people in my inbox and on my comments than when I chimed in on the situation with Candace. These people are crazy. I don't know if they're bots. I don't know if they're mentally ill. I can't put my finger on the audience. And this is not me really crapping on the audience. Before last week or the week before, I didn't really know that it was a thing. I had to be pointed out by several other content providers that, yeah, this is a thing. These people, they're really seriously hardcore cultists for Candace. But Soldier Girl pops this one up, and I thought it was very interesting. And she says, let's break it down for you since you obviously didn't do your research. The court has already designated the victim's spouse, Erica Kirk, as the victim's representative pursuant to Utah Code. Candace requesting to be designated as an additional alternative. Apparently, she's responding to this Project Constitution, which is clearly one of Candace's fans. I don't think this is a leftist site. That Utah just handed Candace Owens the keys to the Tyler Robinson case. Now, I saw this, and this one to me I was like, this is crazy. Okay? Because I know about criminal courts. I've had my dealings with having to deal with court cases enough to know that it will be ridiculous for someone to interject themselves posthumously to a case. That just doesn't happen. So you get a case where you're fighting somebody, and then some random family member decides that they want to interject themselves as a victim. But there is a video here, so let me play it and see if I can make sense of the video.
Let us go back to Utah Law Statute 77-38-9. Did you notice that one of the people who could be classified as a victim representative includes a close friend? I want to remind everybody that Candace Owens was a close friend of Charlie Kirk. She has the text messages and video to prove she was a close friend. Under Utah law, Candace Owens herself can file as a victim representative for Charlie Kirk. She could file today, and unlike Erica Kirk, Candace Owens can request that the investigation be thorough and that justice is done. Candace Owens can request that the defense counsel should be given the time that they need. Under Utah law, Candace Owens has just as much right as Erica Kirk to be recognized as the victim representative. In fact, I would argue that Candace Owens has more rights than Erica Kirk, because Erica Kirk has the appearance of somehow being involved in the crime. The judge will be required under Utah law to honor a request from Candace Owens. He cannot accept one victim request while ignoring the other, because he has to remain impartial. Now, technically, the judge does have the discretion to do whatever he wants. But if he does not accept a request from Candace Owens, it will show everyone that he is biased and the trial is a sham. I hope that Candace Owens steps up and asserts her rights in the trial of Tyler Robinson. Now I want to hear from you.
Yeah. Okay. They're diehard. I really cannot stress more that I do not understand the support for Candace. Okay. Secondly, I do not understand the attacks on Erica Kirk. I never could. I can listen to all the conspiracy theories 1,001 because as it applies to Candace, there's a new one. Every time one gets rebutted, a new one is broached. That is not the way that truth is established. There is base facts that will always be unalienable. There will be the sky is blue and 2 + 2 = 4. They're just facts. But the level of grasping for these conspiracy theories and these loopholes to make Candace right, and a lot of people really think that Candace is right about this. Now, I'm letting the court system work the way that it works, and as many people, we have a suspect, we have proof, we have video, and we have all of that other stuff. So common sense would just say to me that we already have an angle here. But for this individual to suggest that Candace interject herself into this case as an additional victim, and that this guy can say seriously that she might be more of a victim than the man's wife with whom he buried 2 children with whom he loved with all of his heart down to the last minute, whom there is zero, except for conspiracy theorists, and hyperbole, had anything to do with this man's murder, is ludicrous. And I don't even know how you would, how and this guy's got a tie on in the whole 9 yards, how this would be something that a person would want to say on camera seriously. I mean, it's their prerogative, but I found out that she does have a fan base that really does buy into this kind of stuff. Unconnected to that, on to another subject. We talked about it on last week's show. It is very serious, and I need everyone within the sound of my voice to continue to apply pressure to John Thune to pass the SAFE Act. And at this point, I've gotten a consensus from many of the other followers or many of the other providers that I think we've gone beyond pushing him to pass, and that we've exhausted too much energy on trying to pressure him, and that he's just not going to do it. And so the next step that we need to start to seek out is getting Jonathan removed. So the Republican Army posts, it's getting louder than ever. Republicans across the country want Jonathan to step down as Senate Majority Leader. And are you with them? Yes, I am. I got a commitment last week from many, many, many providers. You can see last week that there was a concerted effort, and I was part of that concerted effort to apply pressure to Jonathan. If I've got 22,000 followers and the next person has 1,000 followers, and the next person has 1,500 followers, and the next person has 2 million followers, all those who follow, and follow, all eventually it turns into a wheel. And there was a lot of pressure applied. So anybody who comments to a comment or who comments to a post, and there was a lot of pressure. The Pass Save Act, we have all the means, pass it now. Scott Presler gave a countdown every day of how many days it's been since we've implored John Thune to get this thing passed. It is beyond our understanding why they are not passing it or why they're not nuking the filibuster. But at this point, we need somebody who's going to stand up for the American people. Well, we haven't decided who that is. Is that Mike Lee? One of the people that have been championing getting this thing passed, and there's a couple other senators who are strongly behind the push for the SAVE Act. But it's going to be on us, the people, to continue to apply pressure. So don't give up. I'm just saying, don't give up on this. We need to continue to press John Thune until he either does one of the two things that he needs to do. He needs to push this act, or he needs to step down. He needs to let someone else who has the gumption to do it for him. And that's just facts. And something popped up on my feed, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it'll be a weird way to go out, but we talk about it occasionally, and it's a point of interest for more than a few people. And I thought that it was really weird, so I'm going to blow it up. So if Candace is a conspiracy theory, then we will pop this one. What's this? Orlando Jordan? Yeah, the guy who was on That's So Raven. You guys probably seen him pop up every now and then. And he's just one of some of the other child stars, and they don't seem to grow up and be normal. But this guy is probably one of the craziest and the wackiest. But he brings up some points, and then let's just look at this visual on this thing. I find it to be fascinating. I'll play this video for you, okay? About Hollywood.
In this industry, what you must understand is, when you do sell your soul, you are allowed to live forever. And these people that are called youngins, like I was, had no idea that these people still live. They will prey, haunt, kidnap, anything to stay on top. This is their world. They have nothing but time, is what they believe. The art of exchanging spirits, trading spirits.
And then when they do die, they can move their consciousness from their decaying body from their dead, body to a new clone of themselves. They can basically they can harness and control and transport the informational bundle that is a soul from one piece of hardware to another, or wetware to another. They know how to do this, and this is why, like, in all the human myths about Apollo and Aphrodite and whatever, Zeus himself, these gods seem like they live forever. They always look the same, and whereas humans are, being born and dying generation after generation, these Nordics these gods always look the same, because first of all, their lifespans are thousands of our years per body, and then also they can move their consciousness into clones of themselves. So yeah, it's exactly as you describe it. It was done a very long time ago. And these are the people who manage us.
I'd say it's really weird if you were looking at the visuals as they were going by. You got a bunch of actors and actresses that look identical to these old school people. It's really weird. But we're finding out more and more that Hollywood is not as it appears from the outside. We've gotten reports from people like Nicki Minaj and several other, as it applies to like rap people and people in the industry, as the puppy thing came out about these rituals and this selling your soul, and these rituals to Baal and all these other demons. I don't know where these come from, but I mean, I think it's becoming a little bit too frequent and a little too common to hear, especially these child stars, who it seems like a lot of this stuff deals with the innocence of children. No better way to put it. And that's really sad, but these rituals and this connects to the Epstein stuff too, which we really haven't cracked that nut yet. But Hollywood seems to be involved in this quite directly. And so, I thought that was pretty cool to pull in, because what's in the feed is really about what's in the feed. It doesn't always need to be political. So I appreciate, once again, everyone that spends time placing content on X, because it's you that gives me the source of information and the entertaining subjects that I use on the show. That said, I also implore for you guys to pay attention, because your name might be brought up. If you want to be involved in the show, you can reach out to me directly. And this will be posted in from now on YouTube and on Rumble. You can find the bio to all of the content free, usually 2 times a week on my page. And I don't want you guys to forget that this week there's going to be a special episode, and it's going to be the episode giving airtime to an individual who shouldn't get airtime, but sometimes the bully needs to get punched back, and the bully will get punched back. So I'll give you guys an announcement on my page when that one comes out, and that'll most likely be Tuesday. And for now, we're going to wrap this one up from the newest studio I didn't even mention. We'll see if the audio sounds a little bit better. We've got some soundproofing in here. We got the banner up. So we're going to take it a lot more seriously. The show has been getting a good review, has been getting good response. It's something that folks have wanted to continue. We made it 10 episodes. This is episode 11. We'll have a special another episode this week, which will actually make that, I believe it's like 12, 13. There are two non-related episodes. That one was considered an emergency episode, and the other one was a personal episode in which someone took advantage of my content, so I needed to call them out. But it's more important than ever that if you like this, that you go on and find my page on Twitter, which is low tone, low-tone. It's like spider-man, low as in tone. This is tone, but it's low tone. At Twitter, if you need to find it that way. It's What's in the Feed on Rumble, and it's What's in the Feed on YouTube. So it's easily searchable. There's only one What's in the Feed. The concept is original, but I need more and more of you guys to go ahead and support it. Listen, follow, subscribe, and comment. If you hear something that you disagree with, or if you just want to chime in and give your opinion, whether that's good or bad, I've yet to hear any bad opinions. I would like to, because I'm that kind of guy. You should make sure that you're telling me if there's something that I can do to improve upon, or if there's something that you want me to touch bases, or there's a subject that you'd like me to mention, or even if you want to give yourself a platform. There's a lot of other content providers out here who have their own shows. I'm happy to guest star on their show, or to interview on their show, or to vice versa, to give the platform. And that is how we are going to put ourselves in power as the non-paid, because that's what it's coming down to. The independent people that are not getting paid by some shady organization to put the real news out, to put the real facts out. That said, this is your week's episode of What's in the Feed. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will talk to you soon.